Hey YouTube, thank you for joining. I'm Cameron Ponce, and today I'm going to be talking about why I believe PayPal, Starbucks, and Volkswagen will have a pretty impressive performance over the next couple of years. It's really all about the flow of money, and I wrote an article about that, and I will put that in the description. Basically, I like to think of island scenarios, or you could call it like a little simulation, and you just kind of isolate things out and think about things in basic terms so you can really look at the principle of what's happening. So let's just say that we started a simulation, right? And it starts at midnight and everybody has money, but everybody has zero assets. So they're starting from zero, but they do have money to spend. So it's about looking at where that money is going to go, right? So first of all, it's going to go to money, right? Not everybody's going to be buying things in cash. Some people will be buying things online or whatnot. So they're going to be moving money around. And so that's why I'm looking at PayPal, is because they hold or they process about 1/4 of the world's total transactions. That's a massive amount of transactions. And they get a little cut, they get a little fee for all of that. So that's pretty huge. And then once the money is moved around, you got to look at where it's going next. And obviously that's going to be cars and gas for the cars so that you can get places. And then it's going to be breakfast and so on. So these are the things that I'm looking at, and specifically right now, it's September 2025 at the time of making this video. The Fed just cut rates, and they plan to cut rates again in the coming months a couple times. So to me, in theory, that means that the price of the dollar will increase, loans will increase, and there will be a short-term decrease in stocks, followed by increased sales, which then leads to increased stock prices and so on. But in the short term, there will be a decrease because people need to sell their stocks so that they can pay for the down payment on the loans. So basically, to me, that is just like a mini downsize, or you could call it like a very small recession. But basically a recession or a downturn just kind of resets everything and puts you into that island scenario thought process. So this is pretty provable during COVID and 2008, the 2008 recession. So during COVID, we saw Exxon gas stock, they hit all-time highs during COVID by a wild amount, and they did it first. Carvana was one of the leaders out of the bottom, and so they bottomed on March 2020, kind of when COVID started, and they rose to 345, and then they bottomed again under $5 in late 2022 after all the COVID mess hit. And they went from under $5 to around $400. That's about an 80 times gain. And I actually did buy Carvana and Starbucks during COVID. So that was really sweet. So Starbucks, we can look at, they bottomed in March 2022 at around $65, and they went up to about $125 through COVID. And again, they were one of the leaders out of that. So when everything was sitting at the bottom, they did go down with COVID like everything else because no one was spending money. But once they were down, they were one of the ones that started to go up. They were up like 30% in a month or two, while everything else was still down there. But the thing that I really like to look at is Volkswagen. All right, I think this one's really interesting. So the recession started in 2007 and went kind of through 2009. But everybody calls it the 2008 financial crisis because September 2008 was the biggest crash, and or the biggest daily crash on top of all the crashes that were already happening. So in 2008, Volkswagen actually saw its all-time high. It nearly doubled when everything else fell after September. And then with COVID, it bottomed at the start of COVID around $13, and then it climbed up to $40. And this coincides with they own Lamborghini. And so the Lamborghini started making yachts. I think they announced it you can fact check this, but they announced it in 2020, I think, and then they started producing and shipping them in 2021. And that's when you saw the stock go up quite a lot. The profit margins on that, it increases Lamborghini's profit margins by about 49% overall. Massive ticket items, very good for the business. But anyway, so right now in 2025, Lamborghini just announced that they're making a new, bigger, better, fancier yacht. And Volkswagen is sitting at, its 5-year high was about $40, and its all-time high is about $120. And right now it's sitting at around $11. So that combined with the new Lamborghini yacht, I believe that they will see a sharp increase in revenue and a nice little increase, maybe times 4 to 40 or even higher, closer to the 120. But I do expect a dip before that happens. Like I said, with the Fed cutting rates, I expect everything to reset and the island scenario to take place. So I'm eyeing that. I don't really know where the bottom will be, but I'm looking at it. It could be anywhere from, $5 to $10. But yeah, so that's one of the things I'm strongly considering. I'm strongly considering Starbucks. And also with Starbucks, it's another PayPal scenario where they do a lot of the transactions. I don't remember the exact amount. It's something that I learned long ago in high school, but they hold a significant amount of the world's coffee beans in reserve. So check that out, research it for yourself, and learn what that is. But it's very impressive, the amount, and it's very convincing. I believe Starbucks will be around for a long, long time. And at the point of this video, they just announced they're closing something like 100 stores. I don't know if it's nationwide or worldwide, but they're closing a good amount of stores. And that's not always bad. Some of these stores might be losing them money. They're paying too much for their wages or whatnot, and the area doesn't have a good enough population or demand to support that. So it's not always bad. They might close a store, and that actually increases their profit margin. So we don't know yet how that's going to play out, but I can tell you that people will probably get a little bit of a sheep mentality and sell Starbucks because they think that that's going to be bad. And maybe it will be bad, but basically they think it will be bad, so it will probably result in a bit of a sell-off. So I'm looking at Starbucks. I expect it to go down a little bit, but once the Fed is done cutting rates, that's probably when I'll start looking for the bottom and get into that, as well as Volkswagen and PayPal. I'm not going to risk it and just go all in, bet the farm on one of them. Like I said, PayPal in theory should move first. So I'm not going to bet the farm on that. Things might happen. Starbucks or Volkswagen moves first. But I'm just going to kind of divide up my money into those three things. And that's how I'm going to start off 2026. I'm hoping the alt season carries me and gets me a lot of profit right here through the end of 2025 and in the little beginning of 2026. And I'm going to sell that all, take my profits, not be greedy. Shooting for, times 3. If it times 10s or whatever, that's great. It's kind of hard to spot or to predict a top, but once the top happens, I'm pretty good at seeing that. I'm like, whoa, that was the sale. I'm taking that. It just happened with Crow, the crypto.com currency. It went up to like 39. I was like, ooh, the chart changed. Now it's sitting at like 19 cents. But I took the sale. I got like a times 3 out of it. So that was good. And since I mentioned that, I do believe in Crow quite a bit. I think it's, I saw Binance go from like $16 to over $1,000. And so I think exchanges are really important. And obviously their utility tokens are very important. They save on fees and all that good stuff. So I think Crow will have a very promising future. I just don't think it's immediately right now. I think their top already happened, and in about 5 or 6 months, we'll see another rise. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Ride alt season, go into PayPal, Starbucks, and Volkswagen in 2026. Ride those up, and then take some profits and buy Crow back in 5 months. None of this is financial advice. This is just what I'm going to do. I studied economics, and this is based on theory and math and habitual patterns so far in the future or in the past. So this is just what I think is going to happen, what I'm going to do. I said multiple times in this video, do your own research, go make sure everything that I'm saying is facts. Don't just watch a YouTube video and be like, wow, that sounds really good, I'm gonna bet the farm on it. Do your own research, check everything out, and make your own calls. I think probably even more important than research, I think believing in a company is really important. So like I own a toy business, and so we use PayPal every single day. I have since I was in high school. So and I took physics, and I played soccer, and physics was in the morning, which is why I said this is just tiring. But yeah, so I've always drank Starbucks. My parents had a Volkswagen when they were growing up. I know it's still a major contender, mostly in Europe. But yeah, they do a lot of sales, and like I said, they own Lamborghini. They're doing really well. I believe in these companies, and to solidify that, like B-dubs, I really believed in B-dubs. And when they announced their boneless, because boned wings were costing too much, so they announced their boneless buy one get one thing, and it just flooded every B-dubs that you went to. You could obviously tell that sales were through the roof. And I knew some girls that worked at B-dubs, so I asked them what they thought, and they confirmed my suspicion. Sales were through the roof. That new promo just changed everything. So I bought B-dub stock even though it was going down, and ended up Arby's bought them out, and we took a forced buyout of like 40% gain. So that's what I think. I think you should believe in things. I think you should do your research, and it helps to do island scenarios where you just kind of isolate things out and think about where the money is going and why. So I hope you guys learned something in this video. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe and like and comment and do all that good stuff. And if you want to see more financial posts, once again, not financial advice, just financially related posts, you can follow me on Twitter/X at official Ponce. That's Ponce, all one word. Thank you, and have a good one.